This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Welcome. It's not welcome. This is Deeper Down the Rabbit Hole, and I am here with my co-hosts, Jason Caldwell, Zach Louis, and I am Andrea Vitamis. So today what are we going to talk about today is really aspirational spirit work, aspirational spirit influence work, except we're going to apply it to COVID-19 and not making, because that'll be the second part of the show for the people who are actually paying to learn. We're going to do an actual demon summoning with Dantalion, somebody we've worked with a lot. And Dantalion's gig in the second part of the show is he changes people's thoughts. But there's a big difference between coercive influence magic and aspirational influence magic. So the first part of the show, we're going to talk about aspirational influence magic with spirits, which is a topic that not many people actually talk about, and the good and bad sides of that in general, where what's different between that and a binding. So to kick that discussion off, I will turn to Zach. What do you think? What's the difference between the two? Is there a difference?
Well, it comes down to a binding's a lot more coercive in terms of it binds you, literally like restricts you. Aspirational is you have a choice in the matter.
The thing about having a choice in the matter, and this is why I think it's always underrated, I think this style of magic's very underrated. It's underrated in the same way sweetener magic is underrated. When you bind somebody or put somebody in prison or otherwise energetically constrain them, what do people do? What do you do, Jason?
I resist. I fight. I get mad.
Right. Most people don't get mad right away because they don't understand. But if they do, eventually they resist, they fight back, they get mad. Or if they're Jason, they just whip out death spells. You got to say something for the screen to switch to you, Jason.
This has happened, by the way, so.
Oh, there you go. But
I don't like feeling like I'm being influenced magically. What can I say?
The beauty of aspirational influence magic is you never feel like you're being influenced magically because you had, theoretically, at least a subconscious choice. And it presents an idea which you yourself will accept and then put your energy towards. Now, that might seem a little weird, but there's a whole bunch of spirits that do this type of work. In fact, nobody calls it influence magic on those fronts because they want to kid themselves about what exactly are they doing. But it's influence magic, nonetheless. I mean, like one of the spirits that we work a fair amount with is Krishna, and what does Krishna do?
Well, Krishna does influence magic in the most aspirational way.
Right. It's the assumption that you are too busy to otherwise do what's in your best interest. So let's give you an idea and make it really shiny in your head so you pay attention to it. And it may or may not be in your best interest, but we think it's in your best interest and it's convincing enough that it's in your best interest that the idea sticks. And once it sticks, you're not fighting against a binding because there's no resistance. You're all in. Once you've convinced yourself and once the energy is convinced that your energy is, you don't have to worry about it in the future because you're convinced. You've committed. You've drank the Kool-Aid, as it were. I think that's way underrated. Like, people want to be more, well, certain factions of occultists want to be more, I have the power, but literally in an Eastern style of occultism, that shit's just ego. And it's not that I have a problem with ego. That shit's just, I don't even know. Ill-adapted ego. It's like, and it's counterproductive.
Dare I say that for this kind of elevation magic with higher spirits to aspire people to greater things, you actually kind of have to be smarter to pull this off.
I would agree with that. I don't know that you have to be smarter. You just have to, maybe, it sounds redundant to say to be not as stupid, but because they're not the same thing, right? Like, the natural response is use force. Always use force, right? Magical force. This type of magic takes a little bit of subtlety, a little bit more of where do you want the person to go, like, as opposed to breaking them. Like, a lot of magic, when you read it, it's just about breaking the other person. And it does work. A lot of it works, but not for long. I don't know. Have you guys done the more coercive styles magic? How long does it last?
Here's the thing. Doing things that are more coercive takes almost perpetual, consistent reinforcement to get it to stick. Whereas if you can get the target to accept the aspiration as their own willingness to see that better way of doing things will perpetuate the magic and reinforce itself without having to continuously be reinforced through new rituals.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of this. If you can get this to work, most of the time when you do this, it is a win-win situation. It actually is usually in their best interest when you're trying to, like, influence someone like this. So like, what is the show we posted about is about getting your boss to apply PPE to the workplace. Now, this has become an unfortunately politicized thing because of stupidity, in the most base form of stupidity. Like, it's willful ignorance. But let's face the facts. If we were going to do just straight financial analysis, the case is pretty simple. The cost of PPE is less than the cost of the potential people who would be missing if people got sick from COVID. And the potential that you'd have to shut down a workplace because of COVID is far greater, even if you put percentages and did everything, than any cost of the PPE. So if we did no emotional care for a human being whatsoever and did a purely sociopathic analysis, it is in people's best interest to actually do this. But they're not going to see that because it became political. So they're going to see this noise. What can only be considered truly dark magic. And by truly dark magic, I mean shit where people die just so somebody can get ahead. And unfortunately, that's not to get all political, but that's a lot of the Republican narrative. And I'm just going to say it like that. But even from a purely sociopathic financial interest, people should be more convincible. And this is exactly the situation some of these spirits could be called in, where maybe they just need to see past the emotional reaction of one idea to get to the logic of another idea. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Well, to even work with these spirits on the aspirational means you have to switch to being aspirational and seeing some better nature in people too.
Well, that's a problem right now, actually.
Right.
I mean, we're going to do some Raphael work actually in the middle of the show or towards the end of the show. I mean, I'm sure Jason can do aspirational work on this point, but if he couldn't see the good in anyone else right now, you know.
I think it's hard for people to see their own good right now. Like, there's too much confusion in the media. There's too many mixed messages. You have to dissect all the misinformation that's going on right now. How one story says things are getting better and tries to play the politics of saying, oh, well, you know, half the counties in America don't even have a death yet. Well, that's because half the counties in America have like 3 people living in them. I mean,
They've also done 0 tests.
that
So if you count the deaths by number of actual tests, how do you probably have 0 deaths because you've never done any tests.
Right. There's always ways to play politics. There's always ways to sway numbers, right? Depending on whose agenda it is. But there's so much noise in the media right now, both ways, that I don't know. It's like people are scared. People are confused at all levels right now. So to bring something into their psyche that helps them make smarter, better decisions, that's a blessing, not a curse.
Well, right, and this comes down to, well, you have to be more subtle about this type of stuff. I mean, you have to think it through.
Yeah, a lot of these spirits would actually, if you got to the point you could converse with them, they would actually say that this is blessing. In fact, you look at Krishna's arc, it's very much about, well, sure, what I do is addictive, and it's completely addictive, and it is completely based in love bombing, but you have to get over the noise of the world for people to even accept an idea like enlightenment, or even try to pursue their best interest. Not necessarily enlightenment, like that's a real loaded term. But even to pursue actions that are actually in their best interest, not necessarily in the easiest of their interests, like best long-term interest, not short-term gains. To do that, even the Krishna myth is pretty clear, is that they would have to actually be compelled into an idea, not compelled in the classic way, but it's addicted to an idea that elevates them. And there's lots of Buddhist and tantric work that actually says you need to be compelled or otherwise addicted. And they mean addicted by your own pleasure weakness, right? They're using the weakness of pleasure, and in the East it's considered a weakness, to guide you in the process towards something that's like a long-term benefit. That's pretty.
Yeah, like absolutely. This is where you see, at least in the more esoteric Buddhist things, they won't even talk about other paths. Like they'll mention them, but really they're pretty much like lust is probably the only thing we got right now as a tool that can actually move people forward.
Lust and fear, right? Move away or move to motivation. That's it from NLP, right? That's all you got. You know, anything else is like you have to get people to first become addicted to some sort of fantasy and then pursue that fantasy as if it's real, which is basically the route for enlightenment. Now, eventually people actually do pursue it enough that it sort of does become real, you know, sort of, but not in what they expect, right? It's the pursuit of this idea that they get addicted to that actually brings about the results from the journey, which sucks for us skeptical people.
Yup.
I'm gonna say, yeah, like it's harder to buy in the more skeptical and the more thoughtful you are, right?
Well, that's why I think these Satanists, materialist Satanists, either end up as chaos magicians or Satanists, right? Because both are pretty harsh and thoughtful about faith.
That they are.
I mean, the only difference between a chaos magician really and a Levian Satanist is that chaos magicians seen too much shit and they no longer think that it's possible to explain the world in strictly materialist terms. That's about it, right? I mean,
nice.
And we don't know what shit we saw. We just seen weird shit, and we're just like, ain't no way that that's all there is to it. I mean, if we got Corvus on the show again, he'd basically say like, oh yeah, although he can't really claim to be a Satanist anymore. I'm sorry. After our conversations we had.
Conversations? Yeah, no.
Like where he's clearly like, well, there was shit I could not fucking explain in a haunted house. dude, you've now crossed the line from a Levian Satanist to a chaos magician. You now are agnostic, where you don't know what the fuck happened, and it was you sort of rejected material reality as an explanation.
Levian Satanist, you're either going to see weird shit and become a magician, or not see weird shit and become a I can't think of the right term. Republican who's also
a Republican become a Republican, right?
you're going to become a what's the term? There's certain kind of you're going to become a libertarian.
Well, there you go.
Is the thing I do see as a trend. It was actually kind of funny that you brought that up, because you usually do see them going to libertarianism as a trend.
Well, come on. Levian Satanists just got these scary libertarians. Come on now.
I don't think with that, actually. That's not actually insulting to call them that. I think they kind of wouldn't say that. I mean, that said, like, I actually think some of this aspirational spirit work, to get us back on topic, actually does a real good job, right? And actually, I think it's funny that in the chat I'm seeing Jeffrey talk about glamours, because when we're talking about aspirational, like, spirit influence magic, we're literally kind of talking about glamours, but it's a glamour on idea, right? It's an idea that becomes so compelling that you just follow it. And I think there's lots of spirits that do that. We named Krishna, but I think in voodoo, La Sirène can do this to a person, literally the siren song. We're going to cover Dantalion, but that's more forceful. Raphael is like, what are we trying to do with the Raphael summon? Is we're trying to get we're trying to show us example of spirit that is about health, that will try to have somebody prioritized health of their employees over politics. Because, by the way, a financial argument will not work. No long-term financial argument will work in this case if it wasn't politicized. If you just take a rational view, there's no employer who shouldn't have PPE, in my opinion, just by the math. There's no way you can make the argument based on the math, pure logic, which it so happens that Raphael also is a mercurial spirit, which improves thought. So, like, it can be used to kind of, in a way, we're going to show mini Raphael working that's going to basically try at the end of the show. So you could watch the end of the show if you're on YouTube to see the Raphael work. But there you go. But in a way, that's to inoculate people against negative energy in the form of memes and ideas, negative ideas. Because now you're actually it's not just positive ideas that can be we put an operational definition of coercion, and aspirational is oppositional, but that's not really true, because you can have aspirational even though the word shouldn't be aspirational. I don't know, we got to come up with a better word, but we can definitely have aspirational things that go negative quick. And actually, that's most of what is going on in the media. They're aspirational ideas. They're not based on facts. They're negative aspirational, which we got to come up with a better word from that. I don't know. Devolutionary ideas, but they still have as much force and power behind them than some of the aspirational ideas. Like getting a boss to be convinced that it's actually facts will support his decision that it's aspirationally good to do this and spend the money up front versus what could happen. Facts will bear out the truth of that. But you also have competing ideas which are wholly negative, like COVID doesn't exist. And, it's okay if X number of people die. Fuck it, who cares? I could get my hair cut. Those ideas appeal to, as Jason would say, we have to literally believe, you're going to use aspirational magic in this way, you literally have to believe people have some aspirational part, right? Those ideas appeal to the basis nature of humanity, that my convenience is more important than your life or health. And actually, that's something that if you've been in the States the last 5 years, that we've been culturally shifting that way anyway. But yeah, to go back to what Jason said, you definitely have to believe that you can reach that part of somebody. Mm-hmm. You can reach that good side, you know?
You have to believe that in our society right now, at least 40% of the people out there would, like the meme that was going around Facebook a couple weeks ago, sacrifice the weak to keep the economy open. You have to believe.
I hate this. I hate that attitude because it's totally irrational. Sacrifice the weak means you sacrifice the economy. It's literally just a fact. It's like people are so stupid with these negative aspirational ideals that they literally not even meet facts. They just are so divorced from what would happen. Like if all those people died who got COVID, our economy would crash either way. So I really a simple thought experiment in anyone's head, if they were thinking at all, which is the other part of this, like, you know, these negative aspirational ideas, which sting up fear and self-righteousness and anger, they just shut down thinking like that. But if anyone was thinking for 5 seconds, who the fuck do you think is buying shit? It's not rich people. Rich people don't buy shit. Middle-class people and poor people buy shit. The fuck?
Here's the thing, okay? When working with quote-unquote higher entities, higher vibration entities, to sound a little bit on the new agey side, think of it like you're not just trying to get them to see a better way. You're actually using a spirit that can elevate their personalities, elevate their mental capacity so that they can understand facts.
Oh, yeah. So that's absolutely true. One of the consequences of using some of these spirits is, although they're aspirational in that they're generally regarded from certain points of view as higher aspirations, they will certainly break a person that will not move so that they will move.
Oh, they absolutely will.
Yeah, I mean, Raphael, great guy, but, you know, he'd do less damage than Dantalian if Dantalian's failing to influence someone with a direct coercive technique. Raphael will break your life down if someone with enough strength to make so you face the aspirational aspects that you should be doing, or basically make you so that the point that it happens in your life so you have to. I don't know far. Wouldn't you agree, Jason? You have lots of experience with Raphael too. I mean, let alone Michael. We could talk about Michael and piss off that angel, but Raphael's pretty bad too. What do you think, Jason?
Angels are really nuanced because, yes, you are correct. They will find ways to direct your life and corral you toward a better perspective. Whereas you brought up Dantalian might just drive you, and if he can't bend you, he might just drive you to the insane asylum. So the angels won't really drive you to the sanitarium. But
I don't think that's true. They won't take you down to the sanitarium, but they'll fuck your life. You'll lose your job. You'll lose your friends. Sure, you're perfectly okay, but it's how much pain will you take to hold on to these negative attitudes? Yeah, Dantalian will just break your mind, like, to get the results. You're right. He would, you know, he'd just be like, fuck it, I don't care. But I've seen Raphael take people's work from them. I've seen Raphael, when called appropriately, not in a new age way, and by that I mean with force, actually, like, you know, completely make somebody change their personality, because life would change, so their personality had to change. It's not like they forced them to do it. That's not what's going on, right? They didn't force anyone to do anything. They just brought about situations until you would accept the idea as a better idea.
Wow, we are really talking nuance, aren't we? I'm not going to force you. I'm just going to corral you and block your path every other way, right?
That's generally like how some of these aspirational spirits do it, isn't it? I'm not going to force you to do a damn thing. You will choose to do it. It's the same with Krishna. Like, Krishna is like, here's this idea. It will make you feel good. Everything feels good here. You don't do that, everything else starts feeling fucking bad. Okay?
Yeah.
You can move that way or you could suffer. It's your choice. and I'll keep making it more so that you suffer and move things around so you suffer so you can make the right choice. I'm trying to help you here. I'm trying to help you here.
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's just I'm trying to break it down for what it is. Like, what are we actually saying here?
Well, in the case that people are actually now, I should say, for the people show this is not so anti-angel. Angels actually, I can say without a doubt that certain things in my life like made radical, wonderful changes. The road wasn't what I expected. It took longer than I would have expected, but I can definitely say some of the angel work that me and Jason healed major trauma of which would not have healed otherwise. I think Becky, who's sitting here, she's my wife, would have also said that, yes, the angels definitely stepped in a direct way in some aspects of our life to help people heal trauma they could not otherwise heal. It didn't happen the way we would have expected. It was a longer process, but eventually they did it exactly the way I described it, where choices were slowly forced upon people so they would start to make healing choices. And I know that sounds horrible because that's not putting the spin on it that people like. It's taking the varnish off of this type of work because people want to believe that that's not the way it has to work. But nobody makes changes nobody generally will make changes at all if they can avoid it. Like, this is the only way people make changes if things start getting to a point that what's not working isn't working. And it's obvious. And the only way that it's obvious that it's not working is it becomes more painful to stay in the place you're in than the place that you want to go.
Let me put a more positive spin on this, okay? Because I've thought about this deeply with working out this kind of breaking down a more simple ritual that I'm going to share with you guys here in a little bit. Angelic work, it tends to actually be this as above, so below, where yes, we're making fun of the fact that they can manipulate the external circumstances and corral you a certain direction, but at the same time, these angelic higher beings are doing something internally to you that's reflecting those external manipulations. And I've seen these changes that Andrea is talking about. It's like they do healing work on people that it would be years of therapy otherwise. And it might seem like a drawn out process, but what's like, say, a drawn out process of a year or two versus a decade of therapy?
Or 20 years of therapy.
Right.
And it's not just angels. We're also talking about Hindu spirits here. We're talking
Buddhist spirits.
Buddhist spirits, certain law, like certain voodoo spirits, certain Santeria spirits. All of them can kind of work in this way. Yeah, I mean, especially like, there's no reason I wouldn't see Obatala working in this way too. Like, so we're not just picking on the angels, but there is a whole difference between these wrathful side of spirits and the more aspirational side of spirits. And it's kind of a universal thing. You can see a divide between angels and demons, but demons is a bad word, honestly, in the Western parlance, but probably the Buddhists have the best word, wrathful spirits, and I forgot what the other word is.
Where's compassionate?
What? What was
It's wrathful compassionate comparison there, right? I mean, the compassionate Buddhists are going to be a longer game. Like, I joke around. I'd rather take a wrathful Buddha or Bodhisattva doing work for me than doing the compassionate one, because they will make those long-term strategic goals, and they got time to wait for.
Yeah. By the time that you get the results, unless you're paying close attention with some of these spirits, you'll already have forgotten you did the ritual, which is good, actually, in most rituals when they're trying to do this. Now, with the boss, for PPE, you'd want to see closer, sooner activities. But one of the things that the angel or Raphael might find funny is if they get COVID, but they don't get that sick. That would convince most people they need to have freaking protective gear in their company. They're the people underneath them.
Yeah.
The other voice is, it can't happen here. This is a lie. It can't happen. It's never going to happen. And then it does. And that's exactly the kind of thing the angel would do. Like, well, okay, It can't happen here. That's your belief. Let me prove you wrong. But you won't get too sick, but you get sick enough that you won't want anyone to actually experience this. So you'll do what's the right thing now because you had just enough pain to actually do the right thing. You could still choose to do the wrong thing. And there's some people who probably nowadays that they would still choose to do the wrong thing. But most people, when they've personalized it, they probably say, I don't want other people to suffer this. Mm-hmm. It's no longer a false dichotomy of, well, the media says this, and I'm watching Fox News, and they say it's just like the flu. And they'll be like, well, it wasn't like the flu, and I don't want my employees to get that. Because in general, most people, when you get past the propaganda, are probably good people, generally speaking. They just, when it's confusing and there's confusing different information, they don't know what to sort out. When they have personal information, they're going to usually do what they think is actually in people's best interest. And that's, except for real scumbags. But those are the minority, I think. Again, it might be a 10% minority based on current studies, but that still means 90% of the people are probably reachable with this type of magic. They just have to somehow get moved in a direction to see, yes, this is actually aspirational versus the negative aspirational memes and ideas that are floating around. One of the other things that you could do when we're outside of COVID is you certainly can do this kind of work to aspirationally inspire bosses to give people more raises. This one is actually really easy because what the science actually says, the studies, right? Give people big raises, double their salaries. Some of the companies tried this experiment in California. You know what happened? You want to guess, Zach? You want to guess, Jason?
Productivity went up.
Productivity went up by more than 200%, which means their customer happiness, customer retention, and customer acquisition went up by 300%. And this is repeated over multiple companies. So that means the company made over 3 times the amount of money from what they invested in. And they didn't spend twice as much by doubling the hourly wage in some cases. Not at all. Which is, again, all people have to do is see the studies and start to think about it. They don't have to have some life event, massive transfer. All that has to happen there is the CEO has to read the right studies, just come across the right studies. That's all the Spirit has to do, and then start talking about it, seeing can this work? Especially now that people are getting desperate because of COVID, they might be willing to try new things, right? So it's not just like this painful kind of thing, right? If people are open to it, as Jason said, like a better way, they will. They just have to have it presented to them at the right time. And again, that could be it. They just read a few studies that are saying this kind of stuff, and they say, what do you think if we try this? What if we make our employees happy all of a sudden? What happens to our bottom line? And if this is an aspirational magic at a kind of supervisor or higher level senior manager, I mean, what is at that point? Like, there's a win-win for everyone in that situation. And it's counterintuitive, but factually based on what the results are. That's aspirational. On all fronts, everyone is going to win and get raised up. I mean, this could be used in personal lives too, right? Like there's beat people up method, which, like I said, we do a lot of work with Dantalians. So what are we saying that, Dantalian really is an inception demon. So it's even more inception. It's more insidious than actually even just presenting an idea. It's like at that point, you don't even know you've been presenting the idea. But again, people will tend to fight that too, if they can conceive of it, that an artificial idea has been implanted in their head. But there's a lot of areas where this could be used in personal life, between friends, you know.
Zach, do you have any thoughts from the Eastern Chinese perspective of how one could be persuaded to look at the good of the culture, the good of the people versus...
Yeah, you know, the thing is, I'm going to answer for Zach, and then I'm going to let him answer. The fact is that Chinese culture is not super individualist to start. So this is an easy magical thing to actually do. Like, this is actually harder here because we're like, I'm a cowboy, everything. I can go and shoot up the village and string people up myself.
Pretty much, ain't no redneck redemption or whatever the hell they call it, right?
Redemption? Holy. Hey, just remember the 7 samurai. Oh, wait, that's Japanese. I'm going to shut up. Never mind.
But from the Chinese standard, it really is that Confucian element that plays much more into that. Right? Which, I mean, I've done some Confucian work. It is really, I wouldn't say it's grueling, but it is to have to change yourself to change the effects on other people. It's literally like, be so aspirational that people are inspired to be that.
And there's a lot less. I think individualism is great up to a point, right? And I think what we're seeing actually here is where you get to the point where individual breaks down, where aspirational goals cannot be totally individual. I mean, we could all be, I mean, I think the idea of, God, I forgot what his name is, serial rapist, NLP specialist.
Oh!
Jeffries?
No, the famous guy.
I thought we were going to name names. What the hell?
Well, we're not going to name all the occultists on our level. He's a public figure. We can rip on him.
Oh. NLP. I don't know any NLP rapists, man.
He ripped off Bandler. I forgot who it is now. But he's the famous guy.
They used NLP?
He copied all the NLP, sold it, got sued by Bandler, and I totally forgot his name. Like, not Bill Cosby. Gee. No, he's a white guy. I forgot who it was. Now I totally forgot. But
Well, we'll go with up later.
What? No, it's like the achievement guy.
The achievement guy.
I'm sorry.
He's tied in with all the famous, like, entertainers and stuff like that.
Oh, we talking about...
Yeah, you can't remember either, see? That's all right. That's all right. But either way, it's like the idea of that super cult of achievement.
Are we talking about a Carmine Baffa by any chance?
No, it was a white guy. I forgot. I totally drew a mind blank. Like, once we remember this, it's going to be so obvious.
Oh, yeah, it's super obvious. I'm trying to see here.
Famous, and I can't remember it. So, yeah.
Are we talking about the one that Rose McGowan accused?
No, he was accused by several people. I forgot his. I can't remember it. It's embarrassing that I can't remember, because this is the aspirational spirits. They're keeping it out of our show, right? Keeping it out of our head and out of our show, because we're going to summon Raphael. And you're like, no, don't mention his name.
Don't mention the name.
Yes, that's it. Tony Robbins. That's actually who it is. That's who I meant.
There you go.
Totally, Jeffrey gets it. But yes, Tony Robbins basically got accused by multiple people of that. But that cult of we've seen how far an individual can go where, okay, at this point, no one believes each other. So cult of achievement, right? The thing is like the aspirational spirits demand, you at least have to give some credence to the idea there's a greatest good, even if you disagree with what that is. You know, and generally speaking, if people are generally following positive emotions across multiple people, as opposed to what your individual you think is positive emotions, generally speaking, it's going to have a better outcome for people. Like, I would say there's no way once you think past the how I feel versus, well, how does this whole group feel that you possibly could do more harm. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, most of the people even now, they're like, I don't care what happens. You know, that comes down to trying to get people out of their own necessarily totally self-interest to try to see enlightened self-interest at that point. Yeah, it was totally Tony Robbins too. So there you go.
Well, I did not know. The only thing I ever accused him of was being like too hyper and on steroids, but that's a whole other story.
He was on steroids, and he was accused of rape by multiple people, multiple times, and he did rip off Vandler, so he didn't even come up with his material. Mm-hmm. So there you go. We can call him up because they're going to sue me for the truth, whatever. Then we'll get good media press from that, right? We call other occultists. We'll just get a flame war on Twitter. We won't get any media press from that. Aspirational influence magic, right?
There you go.
There you go.
Small potatoes. Small potatoes in the occult community.
Well, yeah, there you go. There you go. When Googling Tony Robbins, rape accusation comes up with a similar load. Holy crap. When your PR has failed. But you know what? That's the thing. When you're hyper individual, you don't have to care about that. Because people support you. They don't look at what else might have happened. I mean, this is like I hate to say this is like the definition of our politics right now, but it's literally like some of this work could shift people out of that mindset. Like, and I cannot possibly see that as a bad thing. I just can't. I can't even see, honestly, from my own personal beyond good and evil perspective, which, okay, that tells you where I'm at, magically speaking and ethically speaking, that magicians are forces of nature. I can't even possibly see that as a bad thing if someone got COVID and didn't get that sick, so they would have protective gear for their employees. To my perspective, from a totally justice point of view, that is more just than refusing based on your own self-interest.
Oh, yeah. I think an angel totally would give you a near-death experience and then, like, save your life and make you fully recover so that you pass more on to other people.
Yeah. Ever went that direction, they would give you 10 other really big clues that you're going in the wrong direction. Literally, they would make it so clear that you were going in the wrong direction from what is even a justice point of view that, you know, this is kind of like a Christmas Carol level of intervention. But, I mean, that's probably what people need at this point. So,
Yep.
So speaking about angels, by the way, when people watch this or if they're watching this live, we totally aren't just talking about angels, okay? Jason keeps saying angels, but we mentioned Hindu spirits, we mentioned Loa, we're just not talking about them as much. We're actually mentioning lots of gods will do this type of thing. Like, so I don't want people to think it's just angels. Most gods will work in this way too. Classical Greek gods, classical Roman gods. I feel like maybe not the underworld ones or the ones who are really anti-human, but most god forms tend to work this way, I think. What do you guys think? Taoist spirits? Okay, not Hecate. They tend to work this way. But she's literally an underworld spirit. So, like, Hecate will just cut a bitch, okay?
Yeah, I mean, the Taoist way would be put you on a drunk bender and then see what happens.
Yeah, put you on a drunk bender and see what happens. You know, actually, some demons will do that too. They will give you exactly what you want to just see what happens and teach you a lesson. Actually, that was like Samuel. If you remember, that was what he said in the ritual. when we did it at Convocations. That's a different angel, but he's basically like, I'll give you whatever you want. I don't care. And since I don't remember much of that ritual, I think I'm pretty well possessed in that ritual by that angel. You guys definitely were like concerned about my lack of martial vibe, or not lack of martial vibe. What was it? Like, I was totally in the martial vibe, but the serenity that I had in the martial vibe gave you the clue that I had left the building. But basically, he said that too. He's like, I'll give you whatever you want and reserve the right to judge you for it. But yeah, I mean, this aspirational stuff, yeah. Although I shouldn't say Hecate will just cut a bitch. Hecate will also do this too. There's other aspects of Hecate that will show you the more beneficial road and then make you choose it. Otherwise, by maybe more forceful means than even what we're talking about than some of the angels. I think that's true. Most crossroad spirits are tricksters, including Hecate. They will, if they don't like the path you're going down, they'll make sure you know it.
So, building upon this, yes, I'm kind of obsessed with angels right now because I've worked out an angel working as kind of a blessing for our listeners and as an example, and building upon what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, working with limited space. I just wanted to kind of point out that we just happen to have a yellow 7-day around the house. I'm working with a whole 2x2 space, a little bit of rosemary from our garden. That's aligned to Mercury. And because I consider the whole vibe of Raphael to be air, I'm going to work with a little bit of incense and just some simple lavender oil. This is easy to get, folks. You can get this at any health food store on a hot coal.
Also material, also tied to Mercury. So
yes, also tied to Mercury. I hand drew a simple
drawing looks better than my machine drawing, dude. That's like, get your art on, dude. Oh, wow. See?
Yep. Planetary hexagram, sun in the middle. Obviously, this is a little bit advanced, right? But I'm going to recommend a great set of books called High Magic by Frater UD. High Magic 2.
The first one's good. I don't know about the second one.
They're okay as a set. Either way, I've been studying stuff like this for years, and I'm just going to do this real quick for you guys. I just like to put 6 candles around my hexagrams. The number of Mercury is 8, so I'm going to do the planetary gateway for Mercury 8 times, which is broken down in Hebrew. Now, before I do something like this, I would normally do a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, but because that is very complicated and harder to explain, I'm going to do a 3-step banishing that I also picked up from Frater UD years ago. It's called the EAO, or IAO banishing, which stands for Isis, Apophis, Osiris. 3 visualizations. White light being drawn down through the crown of your head, straight through you forcefully as you intone E. Hold your hands up in the air and go E for a full breath. Second part is hands out to your sides, and you visualize a harsh red beam of light coming in from your secondary hand and out through your dominant hand. Easiest way to explain it. And you blast that through your body as you go, for a full breath. Then you cross your arms over your center. And then you take another deep breath and you make a harsh, forceful blue dome as a personal shield as you expel and vibrate out O. So it goes like this. Oh. also, building upon what was discussed a couple weeks ago, once you practice that, get those visualizations down, you could do it with that much force at dead silent. Just
Yo, Jason, when you do that, Zoom cuts you off if you go too loud. So you gotta keep that in mind.
Oh, was it cut out during that?
Yeah, part of it. Yeah.
Okay, so full breath.
Everyone got it. Everyone got it. But yeah, you when you're actually doing it, you gotta watch Zoom because Zoom gets weird.
Okay. Well, that being said, I am just going to cut to the chase and do this for you guys because Zoom doesn't play nice, and we'll figure that out later.
As far as Jeffrey says, Jeff P, we'll take a screenshot of that and we'll put it in the show notes, and so it'll be there on the YouTube video whenever I finish it. He's got the planetary opening too. So
Nice.
don't you on there?
Oh, I do. The Elohim Zabaoth Ararita, which is a Hebrew mantra that we're going to use for the 8 planetary gateways. Mercury. Zabaoth Ararita. Elohim Sabaoth 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 Elohim Sabaoth Harita Elohim Sabaoth Harita. Some lavender oil as an incense, as an offering to Raphael. I will now call forth Raphael, visualizing the angel. Raphael. 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 When you know that you've brought forth the angel, as this example, make your petition, much as prayer. There is power in prayer when used in ritual. Oh, great angel Raphael, Archangel of the air, Archangel of the planet Mercury, we ask that you bring forth aspirational ideas to our employers, that those of us that are forced to be in contact with people that carry the plague, the disease that has come down upon us, that we are given the opportunity to have personal protective gear provided to us from our employers. May they see the benefit. May they see the benefit to themselves by benefiting us. That the more that we are protected, the more that they profit, that it is actually in their best interests. May they be enlightened to see that a dead man cannot spend money. Oh, great angel of Mercury. Oh, great healer of the God that is the sum total of us all. Hear our prayers, hear our requests, hear the requests and the prayers of those that viewed this video now and later on. Amen. Thank you for hearing us. I give you the license to depart. Okay, so working with angels, we don't normally forcefully banish afterwards. I'll just take the energy in. Know that your prayers are heard.
10 minutes, my butt.
How long did that take?
16, 17, 18 minutes.
What? No.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. So that said, deeper down the rabbit hole, wishing you a great night and stay safe. We will see you in 2 weeks. We don't know what the show topic is coming on, but Stephanie Reiser is rejoining us as per your request from the sponsors. Stephanie Reiser is rejoining us. I'm going to totally have a pain in the ass to level this show now because of that. Anyway, Stephanie will join us 2 weeks after that. We know, so in 4 weeks, we're going to have a show just on Qigong, and we're going to go to town. And in advance part of that show, we're going to do advanced Qigong. Really advanced Qigong. Like crazy advanced Qigong. I promise. Me and Zach are going to do some advanced Qigong. Like shape-shifting advanced Qigong. He says it's shape-shifting class. I know. He says it's advanced Qigong. He's decided that the shape-shifting class is advanced Qigong. So we're going to do that. That's 4 weeks. Tonight, so we did the Raphael work. That was in, Jason won't say it. It took longer than we expected, but he totally, if he was doing that for real, it would have been an hour and a half.
And we have to run down hard like that, just so you know.
I'll say my funny commentary after we're not recording. But this is Deeper Down. Have a good night. I'm going to stop the recording, give people a bio break, and then talk smack about Jason.